With all the buzz we keep hearing about Overwatch, some people might have a bit of a wrong idea of the current state of the game. Past complaints about drop rates for cosmetic rewards, complaints about map design and game modes, outcries opposing hero launches and balancing decisions, and the list goes on and on. But at the end of the day, people keep coming back, and that over and over again. I'm taking a break this season is something you hear far more frequently than I'm quitting Overwatch, even when the outcry and dislike for a specific thing in the game is massive. What you have to understand is that all of these things you hear of, no matter how negative the complaint is, are good things for the game, and that is exactly what we are going to talk about today, my friends. What makes us keep coming back, the inner workings of Overwatch. Now you see, every successful game that does not solemnly base itself off of an existing IP does things that are supposed to manipulate players into coming back to play. There are right and there are wrong ways of doing that. The most powerful part of these practices, in my opinion, lays in subtlety. Sure, you can implement daily missions and rewards that give players a reason to come back, but the things that make games truly satisfying, the things that games blow up for, are way more subtle than that. And Blizzard is an absolute genius when it comes to not only manipulating the hype surrounding their games, but also taking existing concepts and giving them a twist or two that make players outright addicted. There are a few things we'll talk about specifically that are pretty obvious on the outside. The first thing will be rewards. What does the game give to us players that makes us feel like our time is well spent when playing? And the second thing lies in the gameplay. What part of the game is just so inherently satisfying to us that we want to play more? It does not matter how great the rewards are, because at the end of the day, if your gameplay is not inherently satisfying, then that game is not going to last. But we'll also dive into two sub-branches of these points that might not seem too obvious initially. That being implied rewards. Things that are not exactly meant to be rewards, but players perceive to be very rewarding nonetheless. These can either be implemented on purpose, but also transpire by sheer chance through community perception. And the other thing would be gameplay mastery. That relates to the depth the game provides, and we'll get into the specifics of what exactly it means and what it has to incorporate a bit later. Now, we all know of Blizzard's marketing campaign surrounding Overwatch, a cast of likable characters that all have their own outstanding personalities that players can relate to. Heroes and villains for players to choose, characters to hate and love to any extent players desire. The absolute power behind their new IP is illustrated by many things, not the least of which is the fact that even people who never played the game likely know the characters and are also likely to have their favorites. That is only further validated by the numbers that back the game up. Massive sales and a lot of hype for every event and hero launch that has graced the game so far. But these things are only meant to get players' attention initially, so let's talk about what makes them stay. Kicking things off with rewards, it becomes very clear that they have not put a lot of emphasis on rewarding players unnecessarily to keep them coming back, something other games often resort to in an attempt to compensate for a gameplay experience that is not strong enough on its own. Loot boxes are rewarded on a regular basis, yes, but it is not a highlight by any means. The fact that players get these loot boxes so reliably and quickly means that it becomes the norm very quickly. Initially, new players are often very excited to collect new skins and get loot boxes, but they come to realize that skins in this game have absolutely no prestige, and that's because they are not supposed to. Where in CSGO it's all about showing off the most rare and expensive skins you could acquire, Overwatch is more about comfort. Players quickly find their favorite skins for each character. There is not a whole lot of value in collecting all of them. With the constant stream of loot boxes that the game provides, acquiring your favorite skin is rather easy. Even if you don't get them through the boxes themselves, you will eventually earn enough of the currency through duplicates to be able to buy them directly. It's all about ease of accessibility and comfort. Much in the same way that every character is accessible to every player who purchased the game, the skins are right about as easy to access as well, and interest for more cosmetics is usually minimal until a new event comes around that brings brand new skins to the game. Past a certain point, I find it very hard to believe that any player really feels the need to play the game specifically for the purpose of acquiring more skins. Again, the game never incentivizes that behavior due to the lack of prestige that is associated with the acquisition of each skin in the game. So I think it is safe to say that rewards are not the driving factor in the game's success. I think the confidence in their gameplay becomes very apparent through the fact that we do not see this over-reliance of rewards. So let's talk about gameplay specifically then. There's one description that is being uttered more than most others when it comes to Blizzard: easy to get into and hard to master. And looking at what Overwatch offers in that department, I think it is safe to say that it oozes Blizzard polish. The secret sauce in Overwatch's success is made of accessibility and variety. The developers created a game that speaks to pretty much every person on Earth that is even remotely interested in video games. While marketing it as a hero shooter, gunplay is in fact one of the weaker points in the game. Albeit a very subjective question, the characters that are supposed to resemble classic shooter types and are meant to resonate with those of us who have a background in playing FPSs suffer from rather lackluster lackluster gunplay when it comes to a satisfaction factor. Do not take this as anything but anecdotal, as I'm obviously not a researcher that has access to a massive sample size of people that I could question, but talking to friends of mine who come from a shooter background like myself, we all seem to agree to McCree being the only shooter type character in this game whose gunplay feels right and satisfying. It is very difficult to put your finger on it when it comes to whether or not a gun feels right or not, but both Soldier 76 and Widowmaker just don't give away that feeling of assault rifle and sniper gameplay that we are used to from a variety of different games we've played before. Truly, it is not the shooter part of their hero shooter classification that makes Overwatch a strong title. It is everything surrounding the basic gunplay, the different abilities and variations in gameplay. The game appeals to so many different players because no matter what you have played before, whether it be shooters, MOBAs, MMOs, or hell, even fighting games, odds are that you will find a hero in this game that you both enjoy playing and learn to do well on, because they do play into skill set that you have acquired before even picking up the game. When sitting two players in front of Overwatch, one with a background in MOBAs and the other with shooter experience, and you let both of them play Soldier 76, after a little bit of practice, both players will be able to be useful to their team. Characters have been designed to not be exclusive to players with certain levels of experience in other games. Yes, someone who played a lot of shooters before will probably show quite the performance in Soldier 76, but that doesn't mean that the person who never even looked at Call of Duty can't be useful on that hero, and that is the twist. All of this is fine and all, but it still mostly relates to the initial getting people into the game kind of phase. If your game offers no depth in gameplay, players will get bored and move on. So what is it that does the legwork in the long run? Obviously, no subject is ever as simple as I would like it to be, so what we're talking about here is a combination of things rather than one thing that we can pin as the obvious culprit. One thing that drives interest over longer periods of time, naturally, is gameplay depth. For the sake of this video not being longer than it has to be, we will oversimplify the heck out of this. So here, this consists of the following. Hero mastery. How long does it take to reach a hero's skill cap? How good can you get at them? Hero variety. How many different experiences can I get in the same game? And of course, you can proceed to try to achieve mastery at a number, if not all of them as well. Furthermore, we also got team play mastery, learning how to effectively play with others, learning strategies that go beyond solo fragging, and so on. And lastly, we got team play variety, playing different hero compositions with a variety of players, whether in pre-made groups or via matchmaking. What differentiates the two sides in the most obvious way possible is that one side relates to a player's predictable experience, meaning it's everything that they control at the time of logging in, anything that they desire to do and achieve. Only they are responsible for whether or not they enjoy these things. And the other side will be the unpredictable experience, obviously relating to things outside a player's control to the most extent. While they can affect to which degree they desire to work with their team, they have no control over the people the matchmaker pairs them up with, and whether or not these people even want to work together. All of these things combined create our gameplay experience. And yes, I know, as I said, this is quite the oversimplification. Obviously, there are also things like map variety, meta play, player interaction, and game mode variety, just to name a few. And that's not even factoring in that even simple looking things like sound design and animation quality affect how we experience the game. But the point is that none of these things have a direct impact on the depth of the game, at least not in Overwatch. Sure, there is a certain level of meta play involved with which heroes traditionally work best on specific maps, but again, we're not trying to scratch further than the most basic layer just for the sake of simplicity. So back to our four main points with hero and team play mastery, as also variety, the most obvious and basic levels of gameplay depth. There are currently 25 heroes in the game, 5 of which are considered supports, 6 are tanks, and 14 are damage characters. If my math is not completely off, which admittingly I'm terrible at math, that results in 127.5 million different hero combinations to play with, and even if we only factor in standard 2 DPS, 2 tank, and 2 support comps, that is still 109,200 different combinations. Bottom line is that there's a metric truckload of different hero combinations that you can play in and against, which offers different experiences over and over again. If we also factor in that different comps play differently on a variety of maps, and that players have different playstyles and display different levels of mastery with a variety of heroes, then I think we can establish quickly that there's a lot of variety in how these matches can play out. A testament to how much possible depth there is in Overwatch, though one could make the argument that, on ranked at least, players usually limit themselves to a few different comps per season which are considered meta. And while that is not entirely wrong, players' perception does play into that feeling of thinking that there's a lack of variety. And fact is also that any meta never stuck around for more than one season, so there is variety on ranked even when considering meta play. But what is the takeaway from that whole sidetrack? Well, it reinforces our initial assessment of Blizzard putting very little emphasis on rewards because of the sheer quality and variety that the gameplay experience itself itself provides. Players have a lot of heroes to choose from, all of which can easily be learned in a way that allows everyone to reach a level of usefulness that makes playing these characters fun. Every single hero plays into things that players learned in games prior to Overwatch, which opens up the door for very rapid improvement at a set of main heroes. It's not only that there are 25 different choices for a single player themselves at the time of making this video, but also the massive variety of compositions they play with and against on different maps alters their gameplay experience and keeps the game fresh going from match to match. If there's one thing that Overwatch is not lacking, it's variety. Now, we could just call this our conclusion and end the video like that, because honestly, I think we found the secret sauce, but there are more things to take a look at that I promised at the start of the video. So let's take a step back and pull out what we mentioned in the beginning. So far, we covered rewards, gameplay, and also took a look at gameplay mastery as well. The only thing that is left will be implied rewards. And that's where I honestly think things get very interesting, because developers are really smart like that. They implemented things that we players love and almost get addicted to. They do it in a way that leaves us longing for more. So let's talk about competitive, because this is a big reason why a lot of players keep coming back, the ranked game mode. If we take a quick look into the past season 1 of competitive Overwatch and its old ranking system, you will notice one big difference. They went from a 1 to 100 ladder scale to 1 to 5,000. Something a lot of players find pleasure in is min-maxing. A lot of people love trying to get the biggest numbers on the screen they can, whether that be landing the biggest critical hit or biggest sustainable damage per second in an MMO, the quickest way to beat an opponent in a fighting game, getting fed to hell and beyond in a MOBA, or even simpler things like maximizing XP bonuses. The bigger the bonus, the bigger the number, the more rewarding and satisfying the experience of the player. This simple concept is something that developers have abused for years already. In season 1 of Overwatch, players complained that it did not feel satisfying to rank up since they would only get points worth a fraction of a rank per game. Players would count dots on the screen rather than whole rank numbers. And now in the new system, players climb multiple whole numbers at a time, which obviously feels way more satisfying. And it is something that I have referenced in past videos as well. The fact that I keep purposefully decaying one of my accounts at a time because it feels very satisfying to me to get anywhere from 30 to over 100 points of my rank back per win. And this is one of the implied rewards I was talking about. The devs clarified that for players who want to compete in this game mode, the competition itself should be reason enough for them to participate. They even said they regret implementing gold guns as a reward for ranked players. And yet they changed their ladder scale in a way that makes it more satisfying for players to climb in, moving multiple rank numbers at a time rather than just a fraction of a rank per win. If you think about it, that's why many MMORPGs start their XP scale in the hundreds rather than at 1. Because gaining 350 experience just looks and feels that much better than getting 35. And once you reach numbers along the lines of 350,000, boy oh boy, this is where players feel really good about themselves. It always feels like more of a drag to gain 5 currency at a time versus 500. Even if in the grand scheme of things, given the price to drop rate relation in the game, it makes no difference. So maybe you want to pay attention to how games set up their XP, currency and ladder scales just to see how much they care about fooling us into feeling more satisfied when participating in the monotonous daily grind. And I think this is where we can draw our conclusion. Blizzard's marketing campaign and promoting their heroes as unique characters with a lot of personality managed to draw a lot of people into the game, introducing them to a genre they previously might have never been interested in. This sheer variety in characters offers every player of any background at least one hero that they should enjoy and be good at, as they can benefit from things that players learned in games prior to Overwatch. And those past skills allow for very rapid improvement at a set of main heroes. Even after finding main heroes, players still have all the other characters available to them if they look for a completely different gameplay experience. Every hero feels different in a unique way, almost like you play a different game entirely. There is a lot a player can improve at in this game, which gives very competitively driven players a lot to work towards. This kind of genre fluidity allows players to keep playing Overwatch for a very long time and still keep getting different experiences, which makes the game feel fresh. With that level of astonishingly strong gameplay variety, the devs put very little emphasis on directly rewarding players. Skins have absolutely no prestige to them and can be acquired very easily. The satisfaction comes not from getting something that is rare, but from being able to get whatever they want at pretty much any given point in time, excluding event skins which are available for a limited time only, but they are at least reoccurring every year. And of course we do have the name Blizzard backing Overwatch up. That kind of name comes with the reputation of high quality and polishing game development in regards to how premium the game feels. It also implies that players are going to be continuously supplied with updates, fixes and new content for years to come, which always feels like a very good value. I'm gonna be honest, working on this project was a lot of fun and I am quite satisfied with the result, but do sound off down in the comment section below. Why do you specifically come back to playing Overwatch over and over again? Is there just nothing else to play for you? Are you hooked on ranked, or are you part of the minority that actually does collect skins? I'd be very interested to hear from you guys. But until then, this is me done for the day as I talk about the inner workings of Overwatch. If you enjoyed the video, then do let me know by dropping me a like on your way out. Subscribe if you want to see more, and I hope to see you all next time.